I added cloud bumpers to the Olympus realm. They start out as passive, but become angry when they take damage and shoot lightning at the player. The lightning can be deflected with the energy shield, but you run the risk of angering more clouds. So first, I'll make a new rigid body and rename the node. And go ahead and save it. Then I'll go ahead and grab the sprite. I made this by combining a couple different images from Pixabay, so I'll put the link to that in the description. So we'll go ahead and center it, and then attach a new script and extend the bumper ships class like so. So now I'll open up another bumper here and copy the static particle emitter here. So I'll make the process material unique so it doesn't override the other emitter, and then load emission mask. So I'll just use the image here. Okay. And then I can just drag it over like so. Then I'm gonna copy, then I'll drag an instance of the health bar and make the children editable, and then I'll add a remote transform 2D and link that to the node. And I only want to update position, so I disable the rotation and scale. So that looks good where it is. And then with the sprite selected, I'll create a collision polygon 2D sibling, and we'll set the shrink to 2. That looks pretty good. So that generates the collision shape. I might be forgetting something, but so I'm going to disable the bumper spawner and then just drag an instance of the cloud into the main scene right there. I can drag it over. I'll just make sure everything is working. Oh, okay. So in the editor, I didn't set the health. This is a capped value custom resource, and I'll set it to 300 and then make it local to scene. So each cloud has its own health bar. Okay. And that looks like it's all working. Now I'll add the angry face PNG. Center it over there. And then I'll override the, well, here's the bumper base class. So I'll add the take damage function. And call the parent function first. And then I'll show the angry sprite and hide the happy sprite this does need, so I'll move it behind everything and then it'll be hidden by default. So now it's smiling, and when it takes damage it becomes angry. So it does throw an error because it's looking specifically for the base sprite. So I'll just change angry to base sprite. I could override that function, but this is a lot easier. Okay. And then I also need to rename the collision polygon to collision shape so the explosion knows or the spawner. So I'll probably change the explosion to like a white puff or something. Okay, that's. Now I'll make a new rigid body for the lightning bolt projectile. So, and we'll go ahead and save that. And add a script. This will extend the enemy projectile class. So I'll add the sprite. And just a circle collision shape. Like that. And so I'll open up the base enemy projectile and also the shooting star laser. So basically I need to move everything from the laser up into the main class. So I'll start with the ready function. So we'll put this in the main class, give it a speed variable, be a float, and then we'll put speed in here. So then in the laser, I can set it to 700 and it should work still. And for the bolt, I'll set this to around 500. So back in the bumper, I'll add a position 2D to indicate where to spawn the lightning. So I'll move that over by 110 pixels, so it's just outside there. I am going to set the mass to as low as possible and make a new physics material, set the friction and bounce. And then in the bumper, so now we have the lightning spawn. I'll add the preload var lightning equals preload, and then load the class. And then I also need a timer, so we'll set this to like 0.4 seconds, and I'll put it on auto start, or I guess we don't need to. So whenever in the take damage, then we'll start the timer. So we'll change the name to lightning timer, and then we'll say lightning timer dot start whenever it takes damage, and then connect to the timeout signal. So we need to make a new instance of the lightning node, and then set the transform to the lightning spawn transform, global transform. And then use the connector to spawn the projectile, like so. The bolt also needs to be masked to the third collision layer so it can interact with the player shield. So let's see how this works. So if it deals some damage, and now it starts to throw lightning bolts. So okay, I'll add the faction variable to the base projectile class as enemy, and then I'll remove that from here. And it seems to be working pretty well. I also need to add a despawn timer to the lightning bolt. So I'll set it for 8 seconds. And then I'll copy everything from the laser into the projectile base class. So damage will be an export variable. We'll set it to a float, and then in the laser scene, I'll set the damage to 3, and in the bolt, I can set it to 5. So we'll make it line up on ready. So this just lines the sprite up with what direction it's moving. So that means I need to change the name of the sprite, and then so we'll connect to the body entered and body shape entered signals. So connect body entered self body entered. We'll just take the laser part off, and then do the same for the body shape. We'll change that. And then the despawn timer, make sure this is on auto start. So despawn timer, connect timeout to timer timeout. call it despawn. Okay. So now these should behave like the other bullets do, if I can get up into the... They don't seem to be doing damage, but they are bouncing off the shield. So that's almost working. I'm not sure why they're not doing any damage, though. So the damage wasn't working because I forgot to turn on contacts reporting and monitoring. So I'll enable that and turn it up to 1. I'm just gonna remove that whole function because the projectiles don't really need to take damage. Alright, so now if I can get it. So now I'm actually taking damage. Good. So another problem I'm having is the timer is restarting every time the cloud takes damage, so I need to add a state equals happy. So actually I think I can just make an enum, an enumerator. So I'll add happy and angry. Okay. And then on damage taken, if state does not equal angry, then do all that and set the state to angry. So now it won't restart. So whenever I do this, taking damage doesn't make it stop shooting lightning. So that's all working. And I can use my energy shield to deflect all the bolts as well. So I actually need to put the lightning spawner on another node. So this will act as an arm that can rotate, but the actual spawn point will keep its relative rotation. So I'll make that a nested node, and the lightning rod is just in the middle. So now I need to change that, and so first I'll just make the lightning rod look at the player whenever it's about to fire. So this is the pivot point, not the actual spawn point itself. So do that first. And now you can see it's rotating around the cloud to fire at the player. So I don't want it to always go in a straight line though. So I'll add some spread I'll set it to 0.5 in radians. And then the actual rotation will be a random float times the spread, and then we'll subtract the spread over 2. And then I'll rotate the lightning rod by that amount. So this will just center it over the original rotation. So now there's a little bit of variation, but it still hits the player for the most part. So that's good. I also need to set the points value for the clouds. So I'll set that to 20. Now in the main scene, I need to refactor the bumper spawner, so I'll re-enable and make the bumper scenes an export variable and just set it to an empty array, and then I'll remove all of those. So now in the editor, I'll set this to size 3 and set it to a type of object. And now I can just drag the scene, the .tscn, directly into the array. So do that for the other two, the shooting star and the biodome. I believe it is the colony. Yes. So now, I guess, hopefully this will work. Okay. Yeah. It looks like all 3 types of bumpers are spawning. There's a colony, so that worked. So now in the connector autoload class, I need to add the spawn bumper function. So this will, okay. I also need to add a bumper layer. So bumper list, and then we'll assign it in the reset function. And then, so now in spawn bumper, can say bumper list dot add child b, and then so in main we'll update the bumper count on the bumper list. So update the bumper count. So now I can remove these since I don't need these functions anymore from the main. Actually, I don't need any of this, so I can just remove all those because it's handled in the connector now. So now in the bumper spawner, this was connected to the main, but it's not anymore, so I can disconnect it. And then here instead of emitting the signal, I'll spawn it directly with the connector. And then in the spawn area script, so I'll remove the spawn bumper signal, and I'll remove it from the bumper spawner as well. Okay, so in spawn area, instead of emitting the signal, we'll just directly spawn the bumper again. Like so. And then in the colony, so in the biodome colony script, remove the spawn bumper signal from there, and then replace these calls like so. So I think this just simplifies everything. Okay. Bumper list is there. Oh. Right. Okay. Well, it didn't throw an error, and it looks like the bumpers are spawning. Let's see if I can find a colony. Okay, so there's a colony. So everything seems to work. I did notice the items and the explosions weren't happening. So this is the bumper ship base class. And I'll remove the signals. So here I'll call connector.drop item, and then here connector.draw explosion. So now I'll see, yeah. So now it's doing the explosions, and make sure the items are dropping. So there. The heart did drop, so very good. So now I'll open up the Olympus dimension scene, and I'll attach the bumper spawner script to here, and then I can in the bumper list I can add the Olympus cloud to the spawn list. Like that. And then I also need a projectiles node, which is, it's just like a container for the projectiles. Okay, and then in main, on ready, just to make it easier for testing, I'll load the first dimension. So in the connector, this is where I load the instance of the scene. Okay. So it's just hanging currently because I didn't set up the different layers when I changed dimension. So it's trying to spawn stuff in the main dimension. So I'll add a setup dimension function, and I'll copy all of the layer setup into this function, and then I can call it here, and after I load a new dimension, like so. And now it actually loads. And when I deal damage, they get angry. Even if the projectile deflects, they start attacking. So that's it for this update. Thank you for watching and have a great day.